The best way for an absolute beginner to get started with their very first FPV drone is
you gotta take your whole budget, you spend it on the most expensive, most powerful racing drone you can freaking find, and then you freaking send it! You send it, you just take it outside, you freaking arm it, you go to the moon, baby, you're gonna be fine.
Please don't do that. FPV drones are actually really hard to fly the first time, and you're just gonna crash or lose your new drone and waste all your money.
Well, actually, the smart thing to do is to practice in a simulator. I would say for the typical person, maybe 40 or 50 hours of practice should be good until you're ready to try to fly the real thing.
Yeah, that's true. Because crashing in the simulator costs you nothing. But let's face it, some people just want to fly the real thing. So the best way to get started in the world of FPV is...
you gotta build your own. You gotta build your own drone from individual parts that you order off the internet from one store at a time, and you gotta put it all together by yourself. And if you don't build your own drones, then you don't deserve to be in this hobby.
As somebody who does a lot of tutorials about how to build drones, it's hard for me to disagree with that. But some people just want to buy a product that comes in a box, and it has a drone, and it has a controller, and it has a set of goggles, and you just take them out, and you turn them on, and you fly. And that's what we're looking at today, the Emax EZ-Pilot Pro. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. I think you're watching this video because you are interested in getting into the world of FPV, but maybe you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed about how exactly to go about it. You don't want to spend too much money, and you especially don't want to spend money that you're going to waste, either because you get a crappy product that doesn't work well, or because you get a complicated product that you don't know how to use, or you get a product that maybe it's okay for a month or two, but then you outgrow it and you just got to spend more money. I'm sorry to say, it's the nature of the FPV hobby that there will always be more money to spend. But I'm going to make a case today that the Emax EZ-Pilot Pro is a good choice that will suit all of those concerns. And the first thing to say about it is that it comes with literally everything you need to start flying an FPV drone. You got the controller, which you use to tell the drone where you want it to go and what you want it to do. You've got the goggles, which you put on your face that lets you see what the camera on the drone is seeing, so it's like you're sitting in the drone. And then you've got the drone itself. And if you're thinking this is not nearly as impressive as some of those big fancy racing drones that you've seen guys flying, don't worry. This is actually pretty good to fly. We're going to fly it later, and you're going to see what it can do. It is super durable, though, and that is a big advantage because when you first get started, you're going to crash a lot. In addition to that, the drone comes with this little USB-powered battery charger, and it comes with apparently one battery. Okay, so you're definitely going to want to get a few more batteries, and I've got links in the video description to where you can buy them, as well as everything else that you're seeing here. The battery charger couldn't be simpler. It plugs into a USB port on your computer or your phone charger or whatever, and the batteries plug in, and that is it. There's no settings. If you're concerned about, well, how do I set a LiPo charger to charge a LiPo? That's all you do. You plug it in, you wait for it to be fully charged, you take it out, you go fly. There's something really cool about these goggles that's going to help me while I'm shooting this video. Yes, you can wear them on your face and get that immersive experience, but in addition, the screen actually is magnetically connected to the goggles, and so you can take it off and you can just use the screen by itself. In fact, the system comes with this little bracket that slides into the top of the controller. We just tighten down this screw, the back of the controller, and it mounts right here on top of your controller. If you have glasses or if you just otherwise don't prefer to use the goggles on your face, this is an option. Although I have to point out that if you're outside in the bright sunshine, this is not going to be a great choice. The screen is just not bright enough to use in the full brightness of the sunshine. But it's going to be fine for right here while we're shooting this video. We should go ahead and install these antennas as well. Nothing will be damaged if you don't install them, but you'll get really bad reception if you don't install them. There we go. Got antennas on there. Now, what makes this kit so great is that you can literally take it out of the box, power it up, and it is ready to go. At least that's the promise, and we're going to put that promise to the test right now. Hold down this button to power up the controller. Hold down this button to power up the screen. and it is powered up. Plug in the battery on the quadcopter, and it is powered up. And boom, sure enough, we're ready to go. We can fly it right now. But before we can fly it, we're going to need to learn what the switches on the controller do. And I've got some pages from Emax's excellent user manual for this quad. If you do end up buying it, it's well worth a read. But I'll take you through the basics. Now, the first switch we're going to look at is this switch on the right front face of the controller. This controls the flight mode. When the switch is all the way up, the quadcopter is in auto level mode, which means that when you center the control stick, it will level back out again and mostly stop flying around. This is where many beginners like to start out. When the switch is all the way down, you are in full acro mode, which is what racing and freestyle pilots tend to use. It's a little bit more advanced. If you try to do this right out of the gate with no practice, you're just going to crash a lot. So I recommend that you start with the switch all the way up in angle mode and only move to acro mode after you got a little bit more experience, or maybe practice in the simulator. Once you've selected your flight mode, the next thing you need to do to fly the quad is arm it. And arming means that the motors will begin to spin and the quad will respond to the control sticks. In order to arm, the first thing you're going to do is take this left stick, which is the throttle, and put it all the way down. The quad will not arm if the throttle is raised. And then this switch here on the front left face is flipped down. And at this point, if I raise the throttle and move the sticks, the quad will begin to fly. And that's the pitch for the Emax EZ-Pilot, that it is literally that easy. You just saw me take it out of the box, turn it on, and I can literally just flip a switch and begin to fly it. So is that the end of the video? No, we're going to go more in depth, but that's the pitch. $240 at the time I'm making this video. Everything you need, and just go fly. Now, in just a second, we're going to go outside and fly this guy. But before we do that, there's something that you need to do in order to make sure you get the best possible range out of it. You see, Emax ships this video transmitter in locked mode. And in locked mode, it won't go to full output power. And the reasoning behind this is that in like Europe and the United States, you're technically supposed to have a radio operator's license. In the US, it's called a ham license in order to use this video transmitter. Now, in case you're thinking, well, dang, I thought I was going to really enjoy this hobby, but I'm not interested in getting a ham license. Many FPV pilots don't have ham licenses, and I've never heard of anyone getting fined for not having one. So you should have one if you want to obey the rules. But I don't think not having one, you shouldn't let it stop you from enjoying the hobby. But before you go fly, you're going to want to unlock this, which you should only do if you have a ham operator's license. And the way that you unlock it is to hold down this little button here while plugging in the battery. It's a little bit annoying, but kind of need 3 hands to do it. But I'm going to do my best. Flippity gibbet. Okay, and what I want you to see is that when I plugged in this battery, a green, a red, and a blue LED turned on here. That's the video transmitter. Ignore that little red blinking LED. That's not what I'm talking about. The solid green, red, and blue LED. And then when I release it, then they're going to start blinking, and those blink patterns will indicate the band, channel, and output power that the video transmitter is currently at. That's not important right this second. What is important is that you do that and have those LEDs come on while you're holding down the button and you unlock the video transmitter. By the way, if you do that again, the LEDs will be off while you're holding the button down and it'll be locked again, which don't ever do that. Now that we've unlocked the video transmitter, we can turn it up to its maximum output power to get the most possible range out of it. And that gives us a great opportunity to demonstrate another feature that this quadcopter has, which is the ability to change settings in the goggle menu. So here's our screen where we're looking at the camera of the quad. Hello. And what you're going to do is you're going to move the left stick to the center position, and then at the same time you're going to put the left stick to the left and the right stick forward. You just learn that keystroke after a while. And when we do that, we will see a menu pop up here on the goggles. To move through the menu, we're going to use the right joystick to go up and down. We're going to go to the features section and push to the right to enter that menu. We're going to go down to VTX and push to the right to enter VTX. And we're going to go down to where it says power, and we're going to go to the left and the right to move that value and change it to 200, which is the maximum value. When we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to set. Wait, before we do that, There's one more thing I'm going to have you do, and that is we're going to change the channel. And the reason for that is that some of these channels will interfere with Wi-Fi networks, and you'll get worse video than you would. But if we change the channel to race band 8 instead of race band 4, then we will be away from the frequencies that Wi-Fi uses, and we won't get that interference. So now I'm going to go down to where it says set and move to the right, confirm, yes, move to the right, and then, oh wait, we're on race band 8 now. We've lost, where did it go? These buttons on the display are used to change the band and channel that the display is on. So we changed our transmitter to a different channel. Now we have to change our receiver to a different channel. It's just like old televisions where you just tune into the frequency. So what we're going to do is we're going to press the B button to change the band to race band. Well, we're already on race band. That's what it ships on by default, so we don't need to change that. We're going to press the C button until the channel changes to race 8. There we go. And then the last thing we're going to do in order to save that setting for future use is I'm just going to press to the right with the left-hand joystick, and that will take me into the exit menu, and I'm going to go down to save and exit, and to the right with the right joystick, and we will save that setting. And now we'll be on race band 8, which is a good channel to be on. Now it's time to put this guy in the air and see how it flies. And I am going to fly it with... Now it's time to put this guy, oh my god, sound. I mean, how dare my neighbor be walking down the road singing joyfully while I'm trying to record a video. Honestly. Now it's time to put this guy in the air and see how it flies. And I am going to fly it with these goggles. So then why do I have my super high-end FPV goggles on my head? The reason is that this doesn't have a DVR, a digital video recorder, that will record what I'm seeing so you can see kind of what the drone is doing. So I'm going to use these goggles to record it. And there is an implication of that I'll talk about. Let's put it in the air though. And the implication is that the receiver module in my high-end goggles and the antennas on my high-end goggles is much better than the inexpensive one in the EZ-Pilot goggles. So I'm going to tell you when I'm getting breakup in the signal and I'm running out of video range and can't fly any further, but you may not see that in the DVR recording that you're looking at. But right now we're getting plenty of range. I know what you're thinking. Why does the video look so bad? Why does the video look kind of like a 1980s VHS cassette? That's just what the video looks like for a standard definition FPV feed. And on these little tiny inexpensive beginner quads, that's the video that they all have. It can look a little better with a higher end camera and a more powerful video transmitter, but not that much better. If you really want a good looking video experience, there are some quads that use a DJI, the same as the DJI drones, DJI FPV system, which is 720p, so it's like 2000s, early 2000s video. It's much better looking, but it's much more expensive, and the quads are heavier and don't fly as well as in this small size. So that's what we got at this price point. And if that's a deal breaker for you, then that's just a deal breaker. But you get used to it, and it's still pretty fun. And for like 10 years, that was all we had before DJI came out with their system. So let's fly some more. Fly over here. Oh, hello. Little break up here. If I go behind the house here, I have to slow way down because I'm seeing a lot of breakup, but I can get through it with a little bit of carefulness. I mean, to be fair, the house is a big obstacle and it's fairly far from me. I can just fly all over the place though. Getting some breakup here. I'm not fully comfortable flying here with the amount of breakup I've got, but I know my, oh, that's it, I'm done. And let's see if I can pop up. Nope. Come back, baby, where are you? Losing it. I'm down. I lost it. I gotta go get it. Sucks. Well, no harm done, and that is one of the reasons I like the Emax EZ-Pilot. It's super durable. I just didn't want to put it in a tree where I would have trouble getting it down, but absolutely no harm done from that little impact. And little tip, this button, the shoulder switch here, if you flip that, it makes it start beeping. So if you've lost it, like you crashed somewhere and you don't know where it is, it helps you find it. So you get okay range for a 200 milliwatt video transmitter, but you're not going to go all the way to the moon. Let's see, can you acro it at all? Let's see if we do a little flip. Oh, yeah. Not a lot of power. And the rates are super slow. Like that was a full, I had the stick all the way over and that's as fast as it goes. But that's good because it's tailored for beginners, so you don't want super twitchy rates. You'll want it to be nice and slow and easy to control. Now, I've been flying until now in a more advanced acro mode, but let me switch to the beginner mode, angle mode, and watch what happens. The quad basically levels out on its own. It's drifting a little bit because there's some wind. And it doesn't have GPS, so it doesn't have true position hold. But if you're flying and in angle mode and you get in a little bit of trouble or feel uncertain, you just sort of center the stick back up again and it levels out on its own and you get control back. So that's how a beginner would probably fly it. Now if you do end up picking this up, there's an adjustment you're going to want to make to the goggles for best comfort. The goggles are adjustable in and out. And that's because there is a lens on the inside, and the purpose of that lens is to make it look like you're not staring at a screen 3 inches from your eyes. It helps with eye fatigue. And that in and out adjustment is used to focus the lens. So if you put this on and it's not quite in focus, do that adjustment. The other reason you want to do that adjustment is because if it's all the way in, then this plastic piece here rubs against your nose pretty bad, whereas if you adjust it out, then it's got some relief here. So what if the best focus for you is with it all the way in? Well, I mean, I guess in theory you could come at this with a Dremel tool and cut it out or something, but I don't know. The other thing I do want to point out is I have a really strong glasses prescription. I'm like -6 diopter, if that means anything to you. And I am able to get this pretty much in focus with my glasses off, so depending on your prescription, you may be okay. If your glasses are small enough, they will fit under there, but I didn't find it easy to focus like that. Oops. And when you're done flying and you need to recharge the batteries on the screen and the controller, they just plug in to any USB charger, and the radio does come with a built-in 18650 cell, so you don't need to buy that separately. Any USB charger and you are good to go. Well, so far, I've pretty much only said good things about the Emax EZ-Pilot Pro. In just a second, I'm going to tell you some of the drawbacks of this kit, and I'm going to show you another kit, another review video I did with an alternative that you might like better. But before I do that, I just want to get a couple more good things out. And one of the things I like about this kit is its longevity. And yes, I mean that the quadcopter itself is very durable and difficult to break. It does come with some spare parts. It's got some spare propellers, for example, if you do end up breaking or losing a propeller. But by longevity, I don't just mean the quad itself. I mean that the parts in the kit are going to be usable long after maybe you outgrow them. So for example, this controller, it will bind with any D8 or D16 mode FreeSky receiver. And if you're new to the hobby, that might not mean anything to you, but suffice it to say, you can bind this to other tiny whoops, other quadcopters that you buy, and it will work with them. That's pretty nice. The goggles, if you outgrow the goggles and upgrade them to something professional like mine, you can still use this screen. This is fantastic. Let me show you something. So I have this little screen as part of my toolkit, and I use it on the bench all the time when I'm like troubleshooting a quad. I want to see if the camera works. I want to see the on-screen display, and I don't want to pull out my goggles and stick them on my face. But it's tiny, and the built-in battery doesn't last very long. It gets the job done. This screen, I love it. I would keep the... I'm probably going to give this kit away to some other beginner in the hobby, but I would love to keep this kit just for this stinking screen. It's so useful on the bench for that very reason. Fantastic. Well, okay, enough being nice to this kit. Where does it fall short? And the first place it falls short is that the controller does not plug directly into your computer for use with a simulator. There is a way to work around that, where you plug the quadcopter into your computer and the controller talks to the quadcopter and the quadcopter talks to the computer, and it's just a couple extra hoops to jump through, and it would be really nice if you just plug this USB port into the computer and boom, you've got a game controller that you can use to play a simulator, an FPV simulator. So that's a little bit of a drawback, and that is a feature that some other kits in this price range do have. Another downside is that the goggles do not have a built-in DVR. They don't record your video. And you might think, well, it's such crappy video anyway. Who cares about recording it? Sometimes you want to record what you're seeing, even though it's crappy. And there are other goggles out there in kits in this price point that do have a built-in DVR. Now, as far as the quadcopter goes, I think you're going to struggle to do much better than the EZ-Pilot Pro. It is a little bit underpowered for its weight, but I think for a beginner quad, that's a good thing. It's going to make it a little easier for you to learn to fly it. The big thing that this is missing, though, is altitude control. So when you saw me flying the quad, I was constantly adjusting the throttle up and down to keep the quadcopter at the altitude that I wanted it at, and many beginners struggle with this. The Beta FPV Cetus kit is another kit in the same price range with controller, goggles, etc., everything you need, and it does in fact have altitude hold. It's not perfect, but it's better than what you've got here. The reason I don't recommend that kit is that the quality control on the Beta FPV controller specifically is really poor, and many people get that Beta FPV light radio and the gimbals are dead, the wires are broken, and too many people have a bad experience with it for me to highly recommend it. However, if you get a good one and the gimbals aren't bad, then you might have a better experience with that than you would with this. The other one that I think you should take a look at is the GEP-RC TinyGo kit. And I'm going to put a card on screen to the review I did of that. The TinyGo has a little bit more sophisticated controller. The goggles have DVR built in, and you can get the TinyGo in a kit with a built-in onboard 4K camera. So you don't get 4K in the goggles, but it'll record 4K to an SD card on board the quad, and some people will enjoy that. That card is on screen if you want to check that out, and there's a link to the video down in the video description below this video, as well as there are some purchase links for the Emax EZ-Pilot Pro if you've decided to pick it up. They are affiliate links, and that means that if you make a purchase after clicking that link, I get a small commission on everything you buy, and it sure does help me out if you decide to do that. See you in the next one. Happy flying.